Do you want to be financially independent?
Me? Financially independent?
Well, yeah, of course. And you want to retire early, like in your 30s or 40s, and be able to travel the world and do whatever you want without a job, Turtle.
Yeah, Chase, of course, but I'm poor.
I can't retire in my 40s. I'm really poor. But Turtle, there is a way. You can. You just have to track your expenses, live below your means, and invest 50% of your income. Can you do that? Will you do that?
That's it?
Well, yeah, I can do that.
Let's effing go! Let's do this! Fire! So which one are you, Chase or Turtle? I was Turtle when I first discovered the FIRE movement. I was all in. And here's the thing, the FIRE movement works. It actually works. It is a proven financial strategy that helps you achieve financial independence and early retirement through aggressive savings and investing. The idea is you can retire in your 30s or your 40s if you save and invest about 50% of your income every month for 10 to 20 years. And the goal of FIRE is to have enough investment and passive income to cover your expenses without ever having to rely on a traditional 9-to-5 job. So here's the game plan with FIRE. You eliminate all your consumer debt, you invest at a much higher rate than most people, and you earn a much higher income than the average income. With that, you can easily hit your FIRE goals. And obviously your FIRE goals are much more attainable if you have a $100,000 salary compared to a $50,000 salary. You get the idea. I discovered the FIRE movement back in 2018 and I was in love. Early retirement. I love the idea of not having to work a 9-to-5 job for the rest of my life and to be able to retire 40 years old. And the thought of having freedom to travel the world and do the things I genuinely love to do without the constraints of a traditional work schedule was awfully appealing. And the concept of achieving financial independence, just the idea of never have to worry about money ever again, that's the ultimate first generation's dream. And as someone from a low-income immigrant background, this movement, this idea, felt like I had a strategy in place, like a real opportunity to live the life I want on my own terms without having to sacrifice my happiness for a paycheck. So here's my story. I graduated preschool in 2012 with $150,000 in student loan debt, and I paid off my entire student loan debt in less than 5 years by myself. And once I was debt-free, my husband and I decided to buckle down and go FIRE. We were all in. So we saved $120,000 in 15 months for a down payment house. We heavily invested in our retirement accounts for a solid 2 or 3 years. And at one point, we were investing about $8,000 to $10,000 a month. We were essentially living off one income and we went really hard for those few years. And honestly, I wouldn't say we sacrificed our lives in those few years because we lived a very normal life. We did very normal things. We traveled internationally. We had a great wedding. We spent time with our friends and our family on the weekends. And we paid $200 for Taylor Swift floor-seat tickets. Normal people stuff. And we loosely followed the FIRE movement the first few years and it really worked for us. But right now, it's not working anymore. And let me explain why. I decided to step away from the FIRE movement because it no longer aligned with my current goals or my values. You see, in my 30s, I value autonomy, independence, flexibility, and growth. And the life I was living while pursuing FIRE didn't allow me to have any of these. The idea of working years and years just to save and invest before achieving true freedom would no longer resonate with me. Why should I work an additional 5 years for an employer as a stepping stone to create the life that I want when I can start creating that life now while I'm still young and I'm still hungry? Why wait 5 to 10 years until I have a few $1 million in my bank account to live on a beach in Thailand when I can start doing that, when I can start living that life right now? And this realization hit me really hard because at this point, my husband and I have already reached financial stability. Not financial independence, financial stability. We have achieved a level of financial security that allows us to live comfortably on a single income because for the last 3 years, we've been living off my income and investing his. This allowed us to really put a ton of money into high income generating assets. And with the funds in our bank account and this desire to explore and try new things for more purposeful and a meaningful life, we decided this was the time to step away from the FIRE movement. I knew if I continued to work my full-time 9-to-5 job, we can easily hit our FIRE goals within 3 to 5 years. But then the pandemic happened and then I started this new hobby on Instagram. And I accidentally grew an audience and I kind of just want to explore this content creation space. So I decided it was time for me to prioritize my current happiness and fulfillment. And I wanted to take a leap of faith to pursue a path that really offers me autonomy, independence, growth, and flexibility. And I realized that continue on the FIRE path would not have given me this opportunity to explore this passion for content creation. So despite the potential financial benefits of staying on this FIRE path, we decided to take a chance and invest in something different. For the first time, I'm investing in myself. And honestly, if this all comes crashing down, I lose nothing because we still have a ton of money in our account and we can afford to take the financial hit. And secondly, continuous growth and learning are important values to me. I want a job that challenged me to improve and acquire new skills. And in my job as a PA, I found that my job was really easy and almost mindless. Maybe because I've been doing it for 9 years, I felt complacent. I was in a place where I wasn't really learning any new skills and I wasn't improving myself in the ways that I wanted. And with my urgent care job, I didn't have any flexibility around my personal life. And I realized as a mom, I crave the flexibility in my work life, the freedom to adjust my schedule that suits my personal needs. With 2 young kids, I wanted to spend as much time as possible with them while they're still young, while they still think that I'm the whole world, because in a few years, they're gonna grow up and have friends and boyfriends or girlfriends, and they won't want me around. And my traditional 9-to-5 grind did not allow me with the flexibility that I wanted. So that in itself was the deal breaker. And the realization hit me that the FIRE movement was not liberating me, but rather restricting me. Not in the sense that I felt like I couldn't spend money. Instead, it was restricting my personal growth and development. It was holding me back from becoming the person I truly wanted to become. In making this big decision to ditch the FIRE movement, I learned the most important lesson of all, which is to align my goals and my values with my actions. It is not enough to strive for financial independence or early retirement if it doesn't align with what truly makes you happy and fulfilled. So I really encourage you to evaluate your own goals and your values and ensure the path that you are on is truly leading you towards a life of purpose and fulfillment. I discovered entrepreneurship. After moving to Thailand for my gap year, I saw how others achieve financial independence without a traditional 9-to-5 job. These people are entrepreneurs, small business owners, and angel investors. I observed how they were investing, and I realized their investing mentality was very different from mine. I was heavily invested in the stock market through my retirement account, but I was also dabbling in real estate and the crypto market. But there was one thing that I wasn't invested in, and that was myself. I realized most self-made millionaires invested in themselves more than they did in their 9-to-5 job or their retirement accounts. So instead of building someone else's business, they started their own business and built successful companies. And with all of their income, they invested in real estate and the stock market and eventually higher risk investments like startups. And this was when I realized too that I could design a life I love without retiring. And it was through entrepreneurship. The beauty of entrepreneurship is you can start multiple small businesses and try new and different and exciting things. So you keep growing as you go. And that to me was a beautiful thing. Well, I fully support the concept of frugality. Extreme frugality as preached with the FIRE movement is where I draw the line because it is not a sustainable way to live. It may work for a few years, which it did in our case, but the reality is that being too frugal can prevent you from investing or taking risks that may lead to greater financial growth in the long term. And at some point in your FIRE journey, you might realize that it's becoming increasingly difficult to reduce your expenses. This was especially apparent for my husband and I when we started a family. Cutting expenses as a dink, dual income, no kids, easy. But reducing expenses as a family of 4, that was really hard because there was a limit to how much we can actually cut back on. We had already relocated to a new city with low cost of living, eliminated all unnecessary subscriptions, and reduced our gas and grocery budget. But our kids, they still need to eat and we still need to pay for childcare, which meant there was really no room in our budget to reduce any more expenses. And in this situation, we realized that increasing our income was the only way to truly build wealth faster without sacrificing our values or our quality of life. It was then that I realized the importance of not just reducing expenses, but also to increase income through education, career development, and entrepreneurship. And this plan seemed to provide us a more sustainable financial plan that aligns with our goals and our values, where we don't have to rely heavily on extreme frugality. The faster you're able to increase your income, the faster you can build your wealth. The FIRE movement focuses heavily on reducing expenses and investing your income. It doesn't focus much on the leveling up your career, and that's a major problem. Your career is the most powerful lever you have for building wealth. But FIRE largely ignores it. In order to truly build wealth and build it fast, you have to continuously increase your income. So if you have a 9-to-5 job, you will need to ask for bonuses or raises yearly. And if you reached a salary cap, then you have to find another source of income, another way to increase your income. This could be investing in other avenues like a small business, real estate, or in the stock market. While the FIRE movement relies heavily on investing in safe investments like 401k, Roth IRA, or HSA, all these accounts are investment accounts that are invested in the stock market with an annual rate of return of 7 to 10%. That's like putting all of your eggs in one basket, even if you are investing in low-cost, broad-based index funds, which we absolutely love doing. Now, the rate of return on the investment in yourself, in your own business, that's a lot higher if done appropriately. It has a much higher rate of return, about 20 to 100%. But obviously, this isn't for everyone. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur because that's high risk and high reward. I also realized that I didn't actually want to retire. I just want to live life on my terms, which means I can still work, but work in a job where I had flexibility, autonomy, and do the kind of work that I want to do. That realization was probably the game changer for me. I don't want to retire. I actually probably want to work till like I'm 90 or 100 years old. I just want to work when I want to. So some weeks it could be 4 hours, some weeks it could be 40 hours, it could be 80 hours. But if you love what you do, that's really all that matters. And I think the beauty of entrepreneurship is that you can jump into different avenues. You can build a business for 5-10 years and then move on to something else. You can sell your business. You can build more businesses, and you can go into different direction. And that was what is most appealing to me, is getting away from having an employer 9-to-5 job and living life. I don't know if that makes sense, but in my 30s, that's probably more important than anything else, is flexibility and to be able to live in an island in Thailand and do what I want to do. So as you can see, my decision to step away from the FIRE movement was really not an easy one, but it was necessary for my personal growth and fulfillment. And the biggest lesson I learned in all of this, it's important to reassess our goals and our values periodically, every few years, and make adjustments accordingly. In the beginning, FIRE suited me really well, the first 3 to 5 years, but now it no longer aligns with my goals. So pursuing financial independence is a great goal to have, but it is important not to lose sight of the present moment and the life that we want to live now. So I hope my story has really inspired you to evaluate your own priorities and pursue a life of autonomy, growth, independence, and flexibility. Thanks for watching, and remember, life is too short to not live life on your own terms.